Good day everyone, so hope you're all doing really well. Today we're going to explore some interesting and fun spaces in Genshin Impact. So as you can see with Kokomi, we're in a very bizarre type of area. But we'll get to that in a different video. So first up, let us explore what happens when you go to Stygian Onslaught and you go out of bounds. Now for certain reasons, we can only go out of bounds with the Traveler or Lamine. And as you can see, basically you've got a very mountainous area at the top, and the moment you drop in here at the skylight, hey, there is the actual arena, and it's very, very beautiful. It's just like a couple of cave systems that extend in all four of the northwest, east, southwest directions, and surrounding it is just a little bit of an area you can hop on, look at. But the thing that I've noticed whilst I was playing this is that there are these invisible barriers all over, and this is the kind of interesting thing about Stygian Onslaught or these type of domains, is that you can't climb on anything, which is very, very weird. You've got invisible barriers, but then on some of the other ones, which I'll show you in a bit, like with the Natlan one, you can climb on things. You don't have invisible barriers, so it's you can clearly tell different developers were kind of like busy crafting or like architecting the entirety of the different scenes. But yeah, for me it's always just fun to see and explore a bit out of bounds. It's just a bit of extra in-game content, as well as give you a bit of a different perspective for how the different type of items look. Whilst what you're seeing here, of course, in the background is a bit of a shorter little playthrough. This is not like my full playthrough, but you can definitely see like what I had to like experience. It's like you do get frustrated because it's like, look at Lumine, she's running, there's an invisible wall, you can't go through it, and since I don't have other characters I can't just force myself through it, but it is what it is. And this part here is like very far from the playable area, so I don't even understand what the purpose of it is, but this is just for a bit of like a comprehensive side. But it certainly makes for taking a couple of beautiful pictures if you want to pose with Lumine and so on. Alright, and then for completeness sake, let's just see what happens when we go down under the map, because I saw something like a bit of a structure there and I was like, ooh, is there maybe some secret hidden lore? It's like, nope, okay. Well, I first need to learn how to fall properly, but as you can see, it almost looks like there's a sunken area from Fontaine. Always interesting how to look at the architecture, but other than that, there really is nothing. And before I could even get to the bottom, the teleport barrier hit. Look at this. You can't even go to these stairs. So why do the devs put these invisible barriers around? I don't know. In any case, a place that is far more interesting is the Natlan Stygian Onslaught area. You can see it's like a little bit of a lava domain, and this is how they get the skybox effects and so on. With the red in the background, obviously from the playable area you cannot see it, but this is generally how the devs kind of craft the stage. So it's not just the area you see, but also the things that you don't see that contributes to a lot of the landscaping and the vibe, the feel, the look of it. And that's what you can kind of get here. And what's interesting for me when I just look at this domain is that there are a couple of areas that are lighted up without any like direct lighting source. And you could see this, like if you think of the moon, you'd imagine, okay, the moon is reflecting, or even these areas, but there is no real light source. It's almost, I don't think this is the right technical term, but it's like kind of baked onto the object. So the object itself resonates, even though we would typically expect light to bounce off of something. And speaking of bouncing off, I have no idea why Lumine was gliding on the HUD here. It's just one of those non-playable objects. But in any case, you can kind of get like a sense for how cool this place is. I find it to be a very parkour-ish type of thing. I think if they took this area and they made it like a playable expansion or something, it could be really, really cool. This could be like a new tribe Mavuika establishes, because it looks like, you know, the chief's area. That this is like not just like the stadium, but a proper place to just have fun. This is what I would expect from Natlan. A bit more war, a bit more tribal theme. But that's just the impressions I got whilst I was going through it. So once again, to the developers and the designers, very, very well done. And as you can see here, you can look at all of these lighted up areas. And when you try and look at the skybox, there's nothing. So they definitely went for an artistic effect that's only really supposed to make sense when you're looking at it from the stage. But other than that, it's just an interesting curiosity for me to see how well lit up some of these areas out of the stages. But then when you get onto the stage, you almost have this sense of focus, like with the surrounding lights, like with the stage itself being slightly darker, which is interesting in my opinion. As for the rest of this place, yeah, look, you can see how much fun this is, how expansive this is. This could totally be like a real playable area. There's so many ins and outs. I love this place so much. For me, it really embodies what Natland should be. And I'm just giving you a bit of a round tour because just for completeness, there's some other areas there that I didn't really explore because in my experience, those are just going to lead to like dead areas in any case. And you can just see once again, if you look down the passages, there's nothing really of value or interest. And the other thing also to note is that whilst the area here is interesting to, like, as we're like walking through it and climbing ladders, it's not technically a very good playable area for players. In other words, you wouldn't really design a stage like this for people to have fun with because it just doesn't make sense. It's not supposed to make sense from this angle. But for me, that exploring out of bounds, I just find it cool. The other thing that's of course very interesting for me is to look at some of the unique objects that we get out of bounds. Like for instance, this flag. You might want to ask the question, is it real or is it just a PNG? Can you like phase through it? For instance, in the Clees, like Imaginarium Theatre Trial Domain, you can like bounce on balloons and stuff like that. It's just interesting what they put out of bounds. In Zabai Story Quest, if you go too close to the moon, it just pops away. So I always find it interesting how the out of bounds effects and objects kind of look like. But yeah, that's it for this Natland domain. We just fist bumped that little area there. Let's go to space now with Kokomi. Any guesses where we are? Well, we're obviously here very, very far outside the abyss in Genshin. And this is one of the things that I alluded to in a previous video, saying that maybe even the starry skies themselves are fake, because you can see it's like a sphere enclosed with another universe on the outside. Obviously, there's no lore connection there. It's just purely the mechanics of how they designed the stage. But if you're ever interested to know what happens when you go and play around in the Spiral Abyss, this is how it looks like. And because the Genshin devs designed the Spiral Abyss very, very early on, we can go very far out of bounds, because I don't think they even put a death barrier unless it's like at the bottom, because I don't think they ever expected players to be able to break free like we've done here, which is like absolutely crazy. But yeah, just look at it. It's just so gorgeous. I pressed the wrong key there. That's why the battle pass popped up. But you can definitely get the sense that you're floating here with Kokomi. And since we are running on the live version of the game, we're gonna die now with no more stamina. So our poor little Kokomi is just going to get yeeted onto the stage, which is always interesting. You can always come into a playable area, but very often leaving the barrier is very, very tricky. So that's just kind of an interesting thing. And obviously, no Abyss flying playthrough would be complete if we don't go and actually touch the tower right here. Now, the first thing that I saw when I got to this tower was that, maybe I can land on it, and actually you can't. The entire thing is surrounded by an invisible wall, so you can't ever phase through it. I'm pretty sure we can teleport like inside of it, I'm pretty sure, but I'm not, I don't know how to set up the coordinates for that. But as you can see, Kokomi is just like walking here randomly. And the other question is, what is solid, what is not, what can we phase through? And I think you'll be in for a couple of like interesting surprises here. Once again, just me pressing the wrong damn button. So as we go through, you'll see, nope, this is all, we can't go through the sides. Here we're just going to phase through some stuff, which is very, very interesting. And then the other thing is, you'll notice that with this big tall tower, there are a couple of bridges as well. So what I'm now going to do with Kokomi is be like, okay, I kind of gave up on the main tower, so let's see if we can't go to the bridge. Obviously being mindful that we only have so much stamina to explore outside. And as we drop down, and I don't want to drop down and kill Kokomi because I don't know if there's an invisible ceiling, you'll notice that it's all fake. Even the bridge itself is fake. It's just a fancy PNG, and that's kind of like the way these towers and so on worked. And then I kind of like obviously got the point to say, well, okay, if the bridges are fake and maybe the towers are like surrounded, what happens to this little staircase that always, that you can always see in the spiral abyss, that gives you the illusion that you're going to climb the abyss or the tower, or in a certain sense I think you're supposed to go the other way, you're supposed to go down in the abyss. And to nobody's surprise, basically there's nothing. So I'm sorry to spoil it for you guys, but yeah, it's just empty. You just see the universe and you kind of get stuck. Alright guys, hopefully you've enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. I'm currently on holiday, but yeah, do keep well and let me know what you think of all of this in the comment section down below. Cheers.